So I'm going to share with you exactly what's going to be in my camera bag as I travel for an event down in Los Angeles this weekend. Over the past 2 years, I've actually accumulated a lot of gear, and a lot of it I actually don't need, and sometimes it can be a little bit cumbersome to bring when doing something like event videography. So I actually just laid out everything that I wanted to bring this weekend in front of me, and I'm gonna go through one by one and talk about why it's coming with me on this trip. Hopefully this can give you guys a good idea of what you might want to bring on your events as well. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have, of course, a camera body. In this case, it's the Canon R6 Mark II. It goes without saying, if you're going to shoot a video, you need some sort of camera body, so this is not as important. Whatever you're comfortable with, use that. I've used Canon all my life, pretty much even when I used to do short films in high school. So I stuck with the system. The Mark II is fantastic. It shoots 4K, 24, 30, 60, uncropped. It has a log format, specifically C-Log3, which looks phenomenal. And it's actually a really good stills camera as well. So I have dual functionality with this body. And attached to this is actually the Peak Design camera strap, which I've come to love a lot. It hasn't failed me yet. It's super easy and convenient to just, snap on and off here. Let me show you a little click. Comes on and off. And you have the strap separated from the body. And same thing if you want to just snap it back in, just put these little buttons in, snap her in, put this little button in, snap her in, and you're all set. So I really love this combo of the camera body and the camera strap. Next up, of course, we have some batteries. Ideally, you would probably use something like a V-mount battery, especially like a 99 watts, so you can actually take it on a plane with you. But I haven't upgraded to that yet, so I just have a bunch of these extra E6NH batteries for the Canon camera. Of course, these are the largest ones you can get for this body. The E6NH denotes how much more wattage it has. And these third-party ones haven't been an issue yet. And in fact, actually have a few more watt hours in them. So I've come to really like these. I've only been using them for about a year. But like I said, fingers crossed, nothing bad's gonna happen. 3 of these usually last me a very long time, even if I am just shooting video like almost the whole day, which it will be. It'll be like 8 to 10 hour days. So having a bunch of extra batteries is useful if you don't already have like a V-mount battery or other battery solution. Next up, let's talk audio. So I have 2 audio things with me here. First up, we actually have the wireless Rode Go 2s in this one. And these are these little compact wireless transceivers and receivers for audio. You can see the little mic at the tip here. That's actually what I'm using right now, which you're hearing from this little lav clip that's running through to my pocket where the receiver is, or rather the transmitter. These are great for conducting interviews. The wireless feature of them really makes them convenient. Although I won't be doing too many interviews, it's also good to just capture wild audio. I'll sometimes just place one of the transmitters in a part of the room and just let it record for like 30 minutes, and that'll be my room tone for the day. I'll get people cheering, I'll get people walking around, I'll get crowds talking or murmuring. It's actually really useful. Otherwise, what goes on my camera is actually this Rode VideoMic Go 2. And this one has served me for about 2 years now. It's really simple, really basic. It just lives on top of my camera. It does a pretty good job. This isn't groundbreaking. This is more like backup audio or scratch audio, but it does beat the internal mic that's in the camera bodies. So even something as simple as this $100 VideoMic Go 2 does a really good job, but the issue becomes when it's very far from a subject, when it's on your camera versus where the subject is. That's why I have the wireless Go 2s, and with those 2, I pretty much have my bases covered. All right, now let's actually talk lenses. So there's pretty much 3 lenses that live with me because I actually have the Holy Trinity. If you're not familiar with what the Holy Trinity is, very simply, it's having your wide zoom, which is 15 to 35 in my case. Then I have my medium telephoto, 28 to 70 in my case. And then the telephoto range, which is 70 to 200. First up, I have the RF 15 to 35 f2.8. I absolutely love this lens. I got it mainly for real estate and some event work because it's really useful for capturing wide spaces. And that's why I'm bringing this lens, because it's gonna be good for doing those establishing shots, whether it's gonna be interior or exterior. I'll be able to capture a real wide field of view of the whole room, of the whole building, and just sort of set the scene for the event. Now it does end at 35 millimeters, which is like the beginning of what I would say is like portrait photography length and sort of like a standard zoom length. So that's why I wouldn't really just use this one alone for event videography, especially if you want to capture the stage and like feel a little more closer to the action. So that's where the next 2 lenses come in handy. This one has been my pride and joy for pretty much the last 2 or 3 months that I've been using it, and that is the Canon RF 28-70 f2. I have been dying for this lens for a very long time. If you want to see the review of this lens, I actually should have it linked right here in the title card. Otherwise, this lens is just absolutely gorgeous. The fact that this lens goes to f2 has 2 great effects for me. 1, a great shallow depth of field and bokeh in the background. And 2, in low light situations, I don't have to crank my ISO as much. In fact, it's 1 extra stop over the f2.8 lenses, which I have for the 15-35 and the 70-200. This focal range, however, is really useful for that sort of middle ground where you can get a decent wide with the 28 and then a pretty decent close-up with the 70mm. And the great thing about these Canon L series lenses, besides having this beautiful red ring around them, is that they also have this control ring which clicks. You hear that? The control ring is sort of like a little gimmicky thing, but I do think it comes in handy, especially when doing something like event video work, because it allows you to quickly change another setting that you assign it to. And what I have assigned to the control ring personally is white balance and the Kelvin temperature. So if I'm ever coming in from outside to indoors, I know I can just adjust here really quick and adjust that white balance on the fly, no problem. So most of the time in the event, I'm gonna be shooting on the 28-70 because I can get pretty close to the action. However, when I'm going to shoot the stage, I'm gonna need something a little more. So that's where the 70-200 comes in. So this is the Tamron 70-200 f2.8 lens. This is perfect for when you're really far away from your subject and you just need that extra zoom length to really get in on the action. So this is pretty much on my camera when I'm shooting the stage. So I don't have to be right at the edge of the stage. I can be a little further back and then zoom in. Or if I am on stage, I can get those extreme close-up details of people's faces, people's hands, or other minute details. f2.8 once again comes in handy for a little bit of lower light conditions, which sometimes can happen in these events. I've used this lens only a handful of times because since it is 70-200, you really can't use it in many places indoors unless you have a large space, which will be the case in this weekend's event. However, the issue with this one, since it is not a native RF mount, I do need the adapter, which I'm gonna bring with me as well. Inside this little pouch is the EF to RF adapter for Canon. Now they have a few different versions of this one. This is the base one that doesn't come with anything special like a control ring or the variable ND filters that you can pop in. So because of that, it just simply attaches and adapts the EF mount to the RF mount. And so far, all lenses I've used with this adapter seem to do a really good job when it comes to focus speed and just functionality all around. So because that 70-200 is an EF meant, I am going to be bringing this, but otherwise I don't use this thing too often as I have pretty much adapted most of my lenses to the RF system. For me is actually some ND filters. Now I know how I was saying a lot of events have low light, but if you're doing outdoors or you're trying to get those establishing shots from the exterior, these ND filters will come in handy. So I have 3 different sizes, unfortunately, because each of those lenses I've shown you have a different thread size. One is 77mm, the other is 82, and then that hunky 28-70 is actually a 95mm thread size. So I have each of them here, and they'll only be used pretty much during exterior daytimes. Otherwise, when I'm inside, I'm actually be struggling to get light. So these are just very subtle things that will help in the production value in certain situations. So depending on your situation, whether you're indoor or outdoors, this may be an absolute necessity or something you don't bring on at all. For me, I just need it for a few shots. And last 2 things, I have a tripod which is actually being used right now to record myself. I'll get some B-roll shots of it now so you can check it out. This is actually from Full-Time Filmmaker, but any sort of tripod works. If you're gonna be doing movements like panning, tilting, or otherwise, you may wanna get a fluid head tripod, but since mine is gonna be pretty much a static shot, I decided to go with this photography focused tripod. And of course, it's very light and compact, so it fits really easily in my luggage so I can take this on the go. All right, and last but not least, I have inside here a drone. This one is the DJI Mavic Air 2. And this is pretty much, once again, gonna be supplementary to the event because I'm gonna capture the exterior drone shots day and night. So this will only come out of my bag pretty much twice a day for every day, just so I have options. I'll try to get some in sunset as well. But a drone really dramatically improves the production quality of your videos, so I highly recommend, if you can get one, to get one. It does take a while to make your money back on these, especially if you get an expensive one, but I believe I got this Mavic Air 2 Fly More combo for about $1,000, which was a great deal, and we've used it on so many projects and pretty much has paid for itself over multiple times now. I use these things on a lot of different projects, such as real estate, event videography, weddings, and just whenever I'm in a nice area, like say a hiking trail, just to get that really cool shot and vantage point that I normally wouldn't get since I pretty much are grounded on the floor. If you'd like to learn more about the DJI Mavic Air 2 or drone videography, please check out this video here. If you have any further questions about event video work, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and I might actually make a video on them in the future. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.